Hello there. My name is David Sierra. Together with my group of Anthony, Jeffrey, Marianne, and Adriana, we are going to inform you today about a huge problem. This huge problem spans oceans, and it's called the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Now, if you don't know what that is, that's just fine. But you might know it as something else. Trash Island. Perhaps in a headline you've seen it before. Trash Island is a general term for the Great Pacific Garbage Patch that haunts the Pacific Ocean waters, and it's been popularized by media sources over the past few decades. This mass is not a proper island in the way we typically think about it. Something akin to a tropical vacation, not so much. However, this is a severe localization of debris, the majority of which is defined as a microplastic, which is unlike the plastic bottles you see here in the ocean. Microplastics have been eroded to be so small that our eye cannot even perceive them. I know this sounds scary, but what we're going to do today is provide you with all the true background on this island. We're going to tell you how these plastics are affecting nature, explain how the island is being formed, what's being done to fix the issue, and how we could be proactive in our measures moving forward. So let's get started. First off, what exactly is the background on this trash island? How is it that so much debris is being formed? Well, to be honest, it's a little bit all of us. Globally, we produce way too much trash, and unfortunately, our amazing oceans end up becoming the dumping ground. Why it all sticks together is actually because of the currents. The currents that naturally occur on the Earth make sure that all of this debris converges in very specific zones. And even though it's on an island, you can't say you could really find it on a map because it's constantly moving. And that's part of why it makes it so dangerous. So if it's so big and I can't see it on a map, how am I supposed to find it at all? It's a hard thing to define, but the best way to put it is how researchers have already done. Wherever these severe localizations of plastics are, they know that it's part of the trash island. It could be as many as so many meters away from each other without actually being connected. So what kind of harm is this causing? Honestly, countless to the entire environment. So next, my partner is going to tell you more all about that.
Hello guys, now that we have a little more background information on Trash Island itself, I'm going to go ahead and talk about my section, which is how plastics affect nature. So plastic, the material that so many of us around the world use every single day, has begun to overrun our planet and our oceans with so much trash that we could barely even stop it now at this point. So recycling's going on, but not at a rate effective enough for us to already combat the heavily polluted oceans and waters. And it's a known fact that we as a society produce over 300 million tons of plastic every single year. 50% of that plastic is only used for single-use purpose. So, for example, like cups, straws, wraps. It's also known that most plastic is utilized for literally only a few moments before it's just tossed into the trash. And about 8 million tons of it ends up back in our oceans every single year. Plastics are also a danger to organisms, sea organisms, sea life, because they don't break down as easy as they would like another organic material. They break down in the form of microplastics, which fish will then eat by mistake, and then it comes back to us in the form of like the human food chain. So, for example, on my slide, here's a visual of a fish that ate too many microplastics and just gave out and died. To my right is another example of a whale that was found near the Philippines with over 88 pounds of plastic inside of its stomach. The plastic pokes holes inside their organs and they end up dying like that. Let's see the next slide. So basically, my next topic is what is Trash Island? So Trash Island is also known as the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. It's basically just a makeshift island. Reality is just a big pile of floating trash out there. This image right here on my right side shows the way the trash pretty much builds up. It's just due to ocean currents. And some facts about the island is that it's weighing in around 87,000 tons overall. It took a big team to measure this. About 30 boats, 652 surface nets, 2 aerial flights overhead, and yeah, just piled between the U.S. states of Hawaii and California as well. It grows every single day, and it's already over 600,000 square miles. And if we as a society keep ignoring this problem, it's just going to come back and bite us, and probably harm us too. Just like in the form of microplastics coming back to us in the food chain. Well, thank you guys.
Now that we have a better understanding of what the Great Pacific Trash Island is, how it got there, and what that means for the oceanic ecosystem, let's talk about efforts currently underway to contain and repair the damage being done to the Earth's oceans. While rapidly increasing amounts of plastic pollution in the ocean have been acknowledged for quite some time, cleanup attempts have always been considered somewhat impossible. The efforts to track and remove this debris have just been too slow and too expensive. That is until an 18-year-old Dutch inventor had an idea that would change the way the world approached cleaning up the ocean. Boyan Slat created the Ocean Cleanup Foundation in 2013. Slat hypothesized that a passive debris collection system that moves with the ocean's currents could be used to gather and remove ocean pollution. The design consists of a large U-shaped boom that skims across the ocean's surface. It has a screen suspended below to collect the debris. Once a certain amount has been collected, it's towed to shore where the debris is then recycled. The ocean cleanup will actually use some of this recycled material to create merchandise, which will then go back into funding future projects. Expected to be able to recover over 50 tons a year once the design's been perfected. That's goal is actually to be able to remove 90% of ocean pollution by the year 2040. System 001, which was nicknamed Wilson after the volleyball movie Castaway, was deployed from San Francisco in September of 2018. It did encounter some issues and had some structural damage along the way, and it actually had to cut its path short about 2 months. But even with this damage, it was still able to collect and recycle about 2.2 tons of plastic pollution. The first journey concluded in Hawaii in January of 2019. The ocean cleanup is leading the charge in removing debris associated with the Great Pacific Trash Island, as well as other oceanic garbage patches around the globe. It's not without its own share of criticisms. One of the main ones is how is Wilson affecting the greater ecosystem itself? The worry is that this might actually be creating a micro-ecosystem, and if you have several of these floating around the ocean, it could be damaging the ocean's ecosystem in its own way. For their part, the ocean cleanup is addressing these criticisms by employing crews to manually monitor these apparatuses and make sure that marine life isn't being damaged as they float across the ocean. A decade ago, ocean pollution was considered an insurmountable crisis. Thanks to these incredibly innovative efforts to undo the existing damage, it's not unreasonable to think that we may see a nearly restored oceanic ecosystem within our lifetime. However, it's important to point out that even with these efforts, we still must focus on reducing new pollution in the ocean. Here's Marianne to talk more about that.
Thank you, Jeffrey. My name is Mary Ann, and I'll be talking about how we can prevent this issue from worsening. Well, how can we prevent this issue from worsening? Humans are the sole cause of plastic pollution in the environment, and while this is an issue that we caused ourselves, there are many things that we can do to prevent this issue from worsening. The first thing being using green alternatives. And this includes finding sustainable and replenishable items to replace single-use plastics. An example of this is using edible cutlery in India, made up of sustainable and food-safe materials that can be stored over time. This solves two problems: plastic waste and hunger, world hunger. Secondly, biodegradable straws from Vietnam are made from grass native to that area. And while that grass is probably just native to around that area, it is really important for the rest of the countries around the world to take note and find biodegradable alternatives for their single-use plastics as well. Secondly, Stop using plastic in packaging and shipping. Reducing unnecessary waste by using less plastic in packaging of food and shipping is important in reducing our waste. As the world of online shopping continues to expand, we will need to reduce that plastic waste and find more sustainable options in packaging and shipping. Cutting out the use of plastic and single-use plastic in packaging things and things that we don't need will greatly reduce the plastic waste across the country and across the globe. Keeping waste out of the oceans. And while this might sound obvious, we need to keep waste from dumping into the oceans and making sure we're picking up our trash and disposing of it properly. We need to find new and sustainable ways to get rid of our trash so that our landfills can be reused, replenished, and recycled. It is important that we find better ways to get rid of and dispose of our trash so that it doesn't end up in our oceans and in our marine life. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. We need to use updated and sustainable processes to recycle our items. What is recycling? Well, recycling is basically using something and turning it into a material that can be reused and as another product. And I live in Oregon, where recycling and composting is both practiced in the city of Portland. And what is composting? It is using the natural process of decomposition to get rid of waste. And then the end product, is reusable and sustainable, and it reduces waste overall. Well, how do you recycle? There are 7 types of plastic, and only 4 are recyclable. The first 2, are recyclable, and they're your typical water bottle, food containers, milk cartons, laundry detergent cartons. The last 2 are more industrial type plastics, where you can find in your PVC piping, your electrical parts, trash cans, things that you see on the street, things like that. And those can only be recycled specifically through a specific recycler. So you have to dispose of them properly through a separate process. So you can't just bring it out and put it in your bin on the street. And the last 3 are not recyclable. Some things this includes are styrofoam. This is single use as well for food packaging, for shipping materials, anything like that. So for fiberglass, nylon, things that we use to build our houses, these are type of plastics that really damage the environment because they cannot be reused at all. Finding ways to get rid of these would be very helpful for our environment. And so we will be hearing from Adriana.
Wow, that sure was a lot of information. Let's take 1 second and recap on what we just learned. David, he started us off with a background in Trash Island. Who else didn't know that existed? Because I didn't, which is kind of sad. Anthony, he taught us how plastics affect nature, and they let us be honest, that's kind of important considering that we kind of live here. We learned how crazy it is that we can produce 300 million tons of plastic each and every year. We even came to realize that 8 million of those 300 tons end up in our ocean. We learned about Trash Island a little bit more, and how sad it is that it is twice the size of Texas. People already say that Texas is big, now think of twice that. Not only did we learn from Anthony, but also from Jeffrey. He informed us about an awesome guy named Boyan Slat. You can see him pictured on my slide. He was an awesome guy that founded the Ocean Cleanup in 2013. The damage, it can be undone, but not without our efforts to reduce on our plastic waste and learn how to properly recycle. Not only did Jeffrey teach us about this disaster and how it can be undone, but we also learned from Marianne. She told us how we can prevent this from worsening. Marianne showed us how to cut down on plastics, maybe by using something biodegradable or reusable. As you can see in my slides, these are some options of reusable water bottles, whether that be a glass water bottle, a harder washable plastic water bottle, or anything in between. This is much better than using a plastic water bottle that you throw away at the end of every day. Even Starbucks is ditching straws after a video went viral of a poor turtle with a plastic straw up his nose. I've even walked through the grocery store and seen an orange peeled in a plastic container. I mean, as if an orange isn't already packaged naturally with a peel. It's just a waste of plastic and something that we can't avoid. Let's recap on our recycling examples. We learned what companies are going green, and we also learned what bins certain recyclables go in. After learning about our Earth and our actions, we learned how important it is to keep our Earth clean. Thank you so much for learning about the impacts on the Earth with our plastic pollution. Next time you're drinking from your venti straw, think about where it could end up. Thank you.